we wish to call on the AfDB to grasp the changing economic landscape of the continent, the varying needs of its clients, and the multiplicity of financing options available now. Gone are the days when the AfDB, the World Bank, and the IMF were the only game in town. African countries now have a multiplicity of bilateral, multilateral, and commercial financing options available to them, including the new BRICS Bank, the China-led Asian Infrastructure Development Bank, and others. The AfDB must therefore arm itself to compete with these new financing players by increasing the speed and efficiency of its operations, its innovativeness, and the depth and complexity of its products.
Welcome back. We're still with the President of the Africa Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. Thank you for joining us once again.
You're welcome.
Inequality, unemployment are causing a rising tide, of migration from Africa to Europe. Right now, how can the bank really help mitigate this crisis of some sort?
Well, the greatest asset of Africa is its youth population. It's the youth. They are the youths. That's the greatest asset we have. And because we are in a global economy where it's a knowledge-based economy, you only compete in that knowledge-based economy based on skills, and based on human capital. But if you're losing too much of your skills through people getting out, or you're not getting enough people with the right skills, and they're looking for jobs just because they can't find it here, you're basically bleeding out of the heartland of Africa. My view is that Africa today is the youngest continent in the world, and we have the largest population between the age of 15 and 24 in the world today. And what is going to happen is, if we do not quickly create jobs for them, it worsens economic, social, and political fragilities. And think of what happened in the Arab Springs, and think of all the fragility points in some of the countries like Algeria. We saw that in Egypt and many of these countries, because most of Africa's youthful population are unemployed, they are underemployed, or honestly disenfranchised. And so that can be a smoldering fire that can totally unravel unless we deal with it. We will take a look at this issue and solve this problem together with African countries, with private sector, and with civil society. What are the things that and our educational institutions, what are the things that we must do? First and foremost is that we must create skills. Second, we must make sure that people have entrepreneurial capacity, right? You can go to school, but it doesn't mean you really have entrepreneurial capacity. But also you need vocational schools. Not everybody has to go to universities, but you have certain labor market demands that vocational skills can allow you to deal with. So that has to be done. But in addition to that, it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't have access to affordable capital, finance, your businesses can grow. I'm proud of in Nigeria of what we did there with the youth employment in agriculture program. They call these Nagropreneurs, these young, exciting people, they're doctors, architects, and lawyers, and all of them that we've unleashed a lot of potential for in Nigeria, and that also continue, because these are the future leaders of Africa, and Nigeria does have a lot to share with several other countries in this particular area. And finally, if I may say, we also have to work with the universities and our educational institutions themselves to be sure that when they produce graduates that can meet the needs of the labor market, because there's a disconnect today. You can produce people, and that is what I call labels. The question is whether they have the competencies that the labor market needs, and there is a lot of work to be done there. And of course, as Africa's premier development bank, development finance institution, I'll be looking forward in the next several months to how we will develop a very, very effective program to support our regional member countries to create a lot of jobs. And we should create those jobs in Africa very quickly.
So what's your plan to properly integrate financial inclusion on the continent at the moment?
Well, if you take a look at what the low-income people need, they need access to savings products. They need access to credit products. They need access to insurance products. And they need access to money transfer systems. And there's a lot of things that have been done, both in several countries. I mean, the bank is supporting quite a lot. The African Development Bank is supporting quite a lot in this particular area. If you take, for example, in Kenya, there's the M-Pesa system that allows people to use mobile phones to be able to transfer a lot of money, and it is probably the best in the world. Actually, it's coming right out of Africa, And I think those kind of innovations ought to continue, and we will continue to support that. I believe very much in the bottom of the pyramid financing. In other words, the people that are at low-income households are the ones that need a lot of finance. And so our job is, how do we get those financing systems available to them in a way that is affordable and easily accessible. And the mobile phone, I've always said it, is the best technology you can do that with. You can actually send people money, they can receive money, they can do insurance on their phone, they can get market information on their phone. Everything is on that phone. So I believe very much in financial inclusion. I think even in Nigeria, I believe that the Central Bank of Nigeria has launched a very interesting program on financial inclusion. And I think these are the kind of innovations that we need, getting financing to where it's needed. The African Development Bank does quite a lot of work in supporting financial intermediaries that actually lend to others. We do agent banking, for example, support. At the same time, we also support new technologies that can make it easier to be able to reach a wider generation of people. But don't forget that when you talk about financial inclusion, for me, the most important part of that is getting the funds to the hands of women. Because at the end of the day, if you get the incomes of women high, it will impact their children. It will send more kids to school. It will improve the nutrition of households. I'm very big on empowerment of women.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina. Thank you for coming on Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much, and it's a good pleasure to see you.
Well, thank you for your mails. I will take a few of them right away. I have this one coming from Ola, and it says, what is the duty of the quarantine officers at Ilesha Baruba in Kwara State? They're collecting money from traders, doing nothing. Well, that's in response to the interview we had last week on the recent EU ban on some food products in Nigeria. Well, this one is from Christian Chukwuka, writing in from Abakaliki, the Ebonyi State capital. He says, the problem with Nigerian agricultural sector is not on improving yield or increasing hectares of land being cultivated, rather on the processing and storage of the existing capacity yield. Secondly, he says, why would a country that wants to boost export rate through agricultural products not have quarantine posts at the port? Why must it be on a call basis? Well, keep your views and comments coming. That's how much we can take on this episode using the address and Twitter handle on your screen. You can let us know anything happening around you in your locality, especially if you're in the nation's capital. And don't you forget, you can view the program on youtube.com/channelsweb/videos. Make a comment after viewing the current one as well as older episodes of the program. Remember to include your name and where you're writing from. Thank you for watching this week. I'm Gloria Umezuke. See you again.